You had to do that right as just crack it open. What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, 7:30. We are actually pretty damn close to 7:30. Today we could actually say 7:30-ish. And it is the Geek Saga 2 salty veterans that are huge geeks. I'm Eugene, and of course right there next to me is my wonderful little co-host, David. David, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just tired. Running around all day. I think I spent 20 minutes at the house.
Dude, track sucks. Who does running for fun?
Well, my son does pole vault, so that's cool. But everything else, I don't like it.
Well, my daughter does a 1600, and I'm just like, why? Why?
One of his little friends does whatever it is. It's a 2 mile, whatever they call that.
That's
and I felt horrible for her. She was dying, bro.
Huh?
I don't know, dude. I know I hate doing it when they make us do it.
Yeah, I know. I cry every time we have to do it.
But this poor girl, she came in at the end and she was just like, I was like, oh, it's not just me. I can feel that way too. All right.
Hey, man, if she was under 24 minutes, then she's doing pretty good.
No, dude, she had to have come in like 17 minutes.
God,
yeah, dude, they were killing it.
Dude,
one kid, I think he ran it in a 7 minute 2 mile.
Yeah, that kid. You know what? Next time, just do Nancy Kerrigan, pass. Yeah, take him out.
For real, Tanya Harding.
No, there you go, Tanya Harding. Just pass, take him out, man, because that's just sick. 7 minutes. Oh, I think the fastest I did was 15.
14:05 was my fastest ever.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's because I was racing somebody. I was dead at the end.
The only reason why I did 15 was because I had literally death behind me, and he was whispering in my ear saying, "I am going to kill you if you don't get across that line." I was like, "All right, Sergeant, I'm gonna go."
Was the drill sergeant?
Yeah, it was, and it was not fun. But hey, whatever. But anyways, guys, enough about us. We always like to, we do reminisce, and because I haven't been that close to David recently, for us, it's always catching up. And but we're really excited tonight because tonight we have a special guest, and we're really excited about him. I met him at LA Comic-Con. A lot of you guys will know his work, will know his stuff, so we're really excited to have him on. But before we get to him, we're going to roll through our affiliates, and then we're going to roll into him, and we're not roll into him. That didn't sound. We're going to roll. We're going to have him on. Is that better? That's better, right? Anyways.
It all works.
It works sooner or later. It'll come out fine. But, all right. And no, that's all I got to say for David. But anyways, all right, guys, so we're going to start off with our affiliates because we always like to give them a little shout out because we want you guys to buy their product because we buy their products. So why not have them? So have you do it. We have Ulanzi. Ulanzi is a great company. We do use them. You know what? I shifted things around, so whatever. But we do use them quite a bit. A lot of the lights that I have that are at home are Ulanzi lights, stuff that you're going to start seeing us when we do finally get out to cons because the start of this year was a little rough for us, all because of, if you guys were in LA, obviously you guys know about the fires. So a lot of things got shifted. We got pulled in our, different directions because we had to deal with stuff here. But when we get out there, you will see the lights that are on top of our cameras, the cage that's on top of one of my cameras. All this stuff is Ulanzi, and we love the product. So check them out at ulanzi.com, and also click on the affiliate link that's in our bio, and it'll send you over to them. When you purchase from them, it helps us out, obviously. Next, we've got Renegade Game Studios, which is a great company. Another one of those affiliates that they got RPGs and deck builders. So if you know how to play 5th edition D&D, you definitely need to play any of their RPGs. Their deck builders are just like any other deck builders, but the artwork is great. The IPs that they have, they're pretty awesome. Transformers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, they run a gambit when it comes to that. So check them out, guys. I do have that one right there. And again, what we always say when it comes to this stuff is that even David will say that the artwork on it is amazing. So that's why we kind of like it too. Next, we've got Kraken. We've got Legendary Supplement. We love these guys. And actually today, Soto's like, she's like, hey, you should maybe drink the, the Kraken to help you focus. I said, look, I really want to be focused, but I also don't want to just be staring at our guests the way David did with the last time we had from Beyond.
Telling you, man, it's dangerous.
It is, but it works. It does work. It's a great drink. They've got, not only do they have the Blizzard Mojito, they also have the right there, which you see, which is the, oh my God, what was it? The Kickin' Mango Peach, and they also have Sour Puck or
Pumpkin sour grape.
Yeah, Pumpkin Sour Grape and Mellow Melon, and they're all focus drinks. They have about as much caffeine as a cup of coffee, so it doesn't get me wired, but it does get me focused. I have other things get me wired. But as far as this product, check them out. Go to their website. When you go to purchase, use the code GeekSaga77, and it'll get you 10% off the purchase. These guys are great. They're coming up on their 1 year. I believe it's actually in May is their 1 year. And we've been with them for most of the ride, so we're really excited for them. And can't wait to see what else they bring out. Next, we've got Movo. Movo is another great company because we use their products a lot too. The microphone you're listening to me on, this is a Movo mic. The mics that you've seen us at cons with, those are Movo mics. Movo is a great company. You can actually go to their website, purchase, and they always have great deals. But click on the link that's in our bio, and it'll send you over there to purchase from them. And again, whatever we talk about on the show, like when it comes to affiliates, they are products that we truly do use and stand behind. So check out Movo for microphones. Great prices for their mics. Great sound to their mics. There we go. That's it. We're going to go with that. And we're going to go right back to this because, yes, those are our affiliates.
So we don't have a normal, we're not doing geek news and geek history today. So why don't we roll right into it and see if Mr. Robinson can tell us who's here? Oh,
that's true. I mean, shoot, Mr. Robinson is just sitting on the bench waiting for us to tell us. Mr. Robinson, who's our guest tonight?
Who could that be? Let's see. This is how you answer a door in
Geek Saga.
Who is it?
Mr. Hatem, how are you doing tonight?
I'm so good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Yeah, we're really good. I mean, we're here. And we've got
finally, right? I know
awesome.
It's like taking months.
Yeah, but it was for a good reason. You were busy teaching a class over at UCLA, and how was that?
It was great. I've been doing it for years and years. It's an evening class, and it's usually I do it in the fall, but I've sort of been adding more and more. And it's a 10-week course, 1 week or 1 night a week, Wednesday nights, which is of course when you do your show. So suddenly it was like, oh, I can't do your show for 10 weeks. And then then everything got pushed because the first day of class, it's a UCLA associated class. It's with the UCLA Extension Writers Program.
Uh-huh.
And the very first day the class was supposed to meet was January 8th, which was when the fires hit LA. Everything got canceled. Everyone was standing around waiting to see if, there would be any buildings remaining in Los Angeles after the winds died down. So they finally died down. So the whole class started a week late. So then we pushed our date, you and I, another week. And now here we are.
It's great. I mean, yeah, it sucks that the reason why we had to push it because what was going on, but it is what it is. And you're in Burbank or whereabouts are you?
Well, I live in Pasadena.
Oh, Pasadena.
so I was right. Altadena and Pasadena, there were definitely, fires. I know people who unfortunately lost their homes. This is, I know this gets talked about a lot. I don't, I mean, it was certainly in the news a couple of months ago, but you should know that if you know someone in Los Angeles, then you know someone who's been affected by the fires, because it has affected everybody. There are entire neighborhoods that no longer exist.
Yeah.
It's really scary. This, there have been fires before, but things are getting a little weird.
Yeah, and for myself and for David, we've both been on a lot of these fires that have been where they've actually had to activate the National Guard. So Santa Rosa, this one down here in Palisades, our unit went there. We didn't go this time, but our unit was there for 63 days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's insane for a unit to be out on something like that for that long. Normally we're about what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe?
Dude, I've been coming up on 20 years in August, and I think the longest we ever did was like 10 days, 12 days on a fire, and then we were cut off.
So what is, I mean, so you guys are literally standing there right in front of the flames.
We're usually like an outer cordon, so like we'll keep people out a block or two away from where the fires are.
Oh, good.
And that way
That's
they're not
much better.
Into the hazard.
Yeah,
that's much smarter. You guys, you picked the right gig.
Well, during the fires, yes, but any other time, MPs are MP doesn't stand for military police anymore. We're multi-purpose. They use it for a lot of things. Yeah, so it's crazy. But
now, you know that when you say military police nowadays, the first thing that most people think about is Jack Reacher.
Yes.
Yes. And
do people ask you, are they like, oh, so are you like Reacher?
You know what? I haven't gotten that question. Have you?
I've never received that question.
Yeah. But
then again, we don't look like Reacher either.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, right. You're not 6.5 feet tall and blonde and okay.
Yeah, and huge,
like 260
and huge like Alan Richson. Yes. Okay.
We're like, pushing 5'8", hopefully we could hold the 200 pounds very well, but sometimes we don't. So
you're my kind of MPs. I like it. You give me hope. Maybe I can do it.
He says 5'8", but I'm like a working Wolverine over here. I'm 5'3", and like almost 200 pounds.
Oh, that's cool, man. Wolverine.
Yeah, so I mean, we wish that we can do the stuff that Jack Reacher does, but yeah, we're more like, no, you can't go here. Move along.
Yeah, just keep driving.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Just move along. But so, I mean, speaking of like Alan Richardson, you worked on a show that he was on.
Oh yeah. No, I know him. I'm very close to saying we're friends. Yeah, he was Hawk on Titans. So he and I worked together in person a handful of times, and then his final, I did. I wrote his final episode. Yeah, the final episode in which he appears, I wrote that episode. And it was cool because it was after his character had died.
Really?
Yeah. So it was Hawk in the next world. So yeah, I was like, God, I enjoyed writing him so much. Maybe I could just steal him back. And he was very glad. He was like, yeah, let's do it one more time. Get a final goodbye.
I think that was the episode where I kind of stopped watching Titans. I was like, oh my God, they got rid of Hawk. I don't know if I can watch this anymore. And so I've kind of put it on the back burner to finish. I was like, I'll finish it eventually. But I was like very sad that they took him out because I really enjoyed his character in that show.
Yeah.
Well, he and Minka Kelly, who played Dove, I mean, obviously they had people just lining up with offers and things they wanted them to do. And because they weren't on the show in every episode, at a certain point, it was sort of mutually agreed, okay, let's actually plan for it. Let's sort of send you guys on your way for your next story. And then, and then we'll figure out what happens, because we never knew if we were coming back or how long we were coming back for. So we at least were able to kind of let them go. And it's funny because then, months after Alan left the show, I read that Reacher was going to be a TV show. And I was in the writer's room and we're all talking about, oh, they're going to make a Jack Reacher show. And I think I was the first one to go, oh, well, who's got to do it? Alan. And everyone laughed. And I'm like, no, but seriously, like, wouldn't Alan be perfect? And then we all were talking like, oh my God, he really would. And then we talked about it for a while and then we forgot about it. And then a little while later, it was announced that he was doing it. And this is all you ever need to know about Alan Ritchson. I was so blown away when they announced that he was cast. And I hadn't talked to him in months and months and months. So I immediately just email him. I'm like, dude, congratulations. I am so happy for you. This is absolutely perfect casting. And I just want you to know that, 6 months ago when we heard this was going to be a show, I instantly said to the writer's room, Alan should be Reacher. And anyway, I just write him this whole email. I send it. I'm like, you know what? He just got cast in a show. He's never, I'll never hear from him, but I just want him to know that we're happy for him. Within 5 minutes, he writes me back. Big email. That's the kind of guy he is. Just, oh my God, that's so funny. You're the best, And since then, we've actually emailed a few times, and he is the nicest guy and the most professional guy, and just a joy to work with. And I'm jealous of all those people working on Reacher. They get to work with Alan.
I've seen an interview recently with him, and he seems just like this. He's almost like that, I guess, like gentle giant, because he's such a big guy, but he seems so nice. And it's like, oh man, I'd love to meet him because he seems really cool.
You guys, here's the weird thing. He was giant when he was doing Hawk in Titans.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay, this is clearly, this guy works out. And then for Reacher, he literally got bigger. Like, he increased in size. He almost doubled. And he was talking about it. He's like, I've gained 50 pounds. I'm like, there is not 50 pounds to distribute on you. You are already, it's like, how could you possibly, and yet you look at him and it's like, oh my God, I guess he really did.
He's enormous.
He's enormous. It's crazy. But that's, it fits the character. But yeah. So, he's a great guy. He's look, I've been very lucky that the people I have worked with, actor and actress, but they're all actors, overwhelmingly, and with very few exceptions, they've been really wonderful people who have been extremely good at what they do and extremely nice, fun, collaborative people. So yeah, I've got a lot of good stories to tell, and only a couple bad ones.
Well, a lot of your projects that you worked on, like even we can go back to like Mothman Prophecies. I would say would be the first thing that I seen that was one of your projects. My ex-wife that was like one of her favorite movies, so I had seen it quite a bit. And it was
I don't know how you let her go.
Oh, it was really easy, swift kicking. But
I understand. I've been there.
But the thing is, yes, she has good taste in stuff, because it was also kind of through her that I got a little bit into Supernatural.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so that's like Supernatural has been a huge part for me too. Like, I watched that show. I just recently ended it again. And
nice.
It's one of those things where I start over again a couple months down the line, because it's one of my favorite shows. And that was also why I was like, oh my God, I got to talk to this guy, because I love Supernatural.
Yeah, what a
David
good show.
started
What
that.
a great show.
Oh, awesome show. Amazing show. Like, there's nothing I can say bad about it. I had fun through watching the whole thing. Miracles, I did find some, and I watched a little bit of it, and I liked it. That
Oh,
was
good.
another one. Yeah. So,
Well, for a mere $89, you can own it on DVD. I think, I don't know. I mean, it's the price goes up and down. I'll go to Amazon, and sometimes it's like, $68, and then sometimes it's like $130. I'm like, oh God, what happened? But I'm glad you liked it.
it was a great show. I mean, a lot of your projects I have watched. I know that David, he recently started doing Supernatural. He's watched Titans. So, like, we are fans of your work. And
That's so great. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and then Under Siege 2.
I know that David bailed on Titans and hasn't said a word since. But that's cool.
I muted my washer. I muted my mic because my washer was about to go off. My wife forgot that I was going to be in here doing a podcast, and it was literally going to start dinging right now. And I was like, I got to get ahead of this thing.
David, it's totally cool. I understand. You got roped into this. There'll probably be a cool guest next week.
No. I was telling him, like, when Titans came out, I had no expectation for it. I didn't want it to be good. I didn't want it to be bad. I just wanted it to be cool and something that I could sit down, watch, and be interested in. And the very first episode just locked me in. Watching Brenton Thwaites like smash that dude's head into the glass and then scrape it across. Yeah. I was like, I'm in. I'm so in. And that was it. I was locked in after that.
David, it's so funny that you say that, because there was that was a very specific thing. Like, that was not done. That whole scene was not done without purpose and intent. I was not, I did not create the show. That is Jeff Johns, Akiva Goldsman, and Greg Berlanti. But specifically Jeff Johns and Akiva Goldsman, because they have both, sort of, had a lot to do with various DC titles. And Jeff Johns was, the head of DC at the time, and had also done a lot of writing and comic book writing. But when I went on that show, I got to tell you guys, I'm not a comic book guy. I'm not a reader of comic books. So when they hired me, I was kind of like, okay, well, they'll tell me what they want me to do, but they were very upfront. They said, it is not important that you have read these comic books. We are not going to be following the comic books. The characters are still the characters. That's not going to change. And we may approach, like, we'll take bad guys. We'll take Deathstroke and, Trigon, but we can tell different stories. We're not just going to replicate what has been in the comic books. So feel free to make up new stuff. That's what we want, because this is cable and streaming and adult. And we're going to do something with Titans that we've never done, which is make it gritty and grown up and bloody. And it's going to be, it's going to be cable. And so we were like, okay, great. So all we really know about Titans so far is like Teen Titans Go. And now it's going to be Nightwing dragging a guy's face along broken glass and screaming, "Fuck Batman."
Yep.
It's like, okay. So do we need to tell like 8-year-old children, this isn't what you think it's going to be?
Well, I pre-screen everything before I let my kids watch it. And my son, my 17-year-old, was really big into Young Justice, then the Titans show, and then Teen Titans as well. So when the show came out, I was like, it's going to be on HBO. Last time I watched something on HBO, it completely caught me by surprise, because it was the Spawn show when it came out way back in the 90s. And I was like, I wasn't expecting it that gritty, but I freaking loved it. So I was like, let me check it out first, and then I'll let him watch it later. So I saw the first episode and I was like, yeah, you might want to wait maybe a year or two before you watch it. Wait till you're 15. And he was like, okay, I guess, like, whatever.
Okay, good dad. Well, that's the thing, like, because my wife was saying, kids might not know that this is going to be very different. but I'm sort of like, you know what? They'll find out soon enough. But that was the big difference. And it's so funny because for the writers, we were like, oh, does this mean that like the Titans can have sex? I'm like, I mean, they're grown-ups, right? I mean, grown-ups do that. Is that where we're going? And Jeff Johns is so funny. He's like, look, it's cable. You can do whatever you want. Either, people are going to have addiction problems. It's going to be violent and gritty. And he's like, look, here's the thing about sex, though. The audience doesn't want to see it. And we're all like, what are you talking about? That's cable. That's the reason cable exists, is so people can see people having sex. And he's like, I know that's what you think, but with these characters, they don't want to see it. And we're like, yeah. So we immediately write the episode where Nightwing and Starfire sleep together. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? We're like, oh my God, he was right. It's like they want there to be attraction, but they don't actually need to see them tumbling into bed and pulling each other's costumes off. That's what they don't want. And then Jeff also said, and the other thing they don't want, there should be no scenes where you see these people. We don't want to see them suiting up. It's just, we've already seen that. No one cares about seeing them pull on things and zip this and slam on this, and a glove and all that stuff. And we're like, really? And he's like, no one wants to see it. And again, 100% correct. So we learned our lesson the hard way, and then we really slow rolled things. And that was the better way to do it, because people wanted the emotion between the characters. And that's all they wanted. They just wanted to know more than anything that Nightwing loved Starfire. Like, that was important. And we're like, great, we'll write that, and we'll write longing and unrequited or whatever that is. That's better anyway. So we did that, and it worked out great. And the actors, of course, were brilliant and loved doing it. So we got lucky.
By the way, your guys' casting on that show, like, you guys chose some of the best. Like, I was completely taken away by Beast Boy, because I didn't expect much from the kid, and he was so good as Beast Boy. And then Alan Richardson as Hawk, and Minka as Dove, and Brenton Thwaites, he was coming off of that corny Greek movie. I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Gods of I don't know.
Whatever. It was
it was an Egyptian movie. Yeah. Anyways, it was like the last thing I seen him in, and then he was coming in, and I was like, well, he was good as freaking the kid from Pirates. I was like, he'll be fine.
Right.
But seeing him in the role as an older Dick was freaking amazing. Like, he was really good. Yeah, you guys knocked it out the park.
He and Anna were fantastic. I know exactly. I knew you were going to say Beast Boy, because that casting was like almost impossible. It's like, oh my God, he is Beast Boy. He is. Yes. And he felt it too. I mean, Ryan felt it. He was like, yes, you're right. I am Beast Boy. I knew when I heard that the show was announced. I'm like, oh, well, I'm Beast Boy, so I guess I'll just go tell them. And he pretty much did. And we were like, you're right. And Tegan as Raven. Tegan is great. I came to respect her and her abilities more and more with every episode. I would have spun any of those characters off if we had the opportunity. Oh, and then, by the way, Curran Walters as Jason Todd. Oh my God, has there ever been better casting? And then we get oh God, I'm blanking on his name. Connor, the guy who played Superboy.
Yes.
Why am I blanking on his name? I got to find out his name, because this is really bad.
Yeah,
here, look it up right now.
We're scanning for it.
See, I'm very old.
We do this all the time.
Yeah, we do it all the time. We're not too far behind.
Here, Joshua Orpin.
Yes,
Josh. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I was so stuck on Curran. Okay, yes, Josh Orpin. Yeah. again, great guys, so much fun. And these were people. Here's the beauty and the fun of doing a show like that, and the privilege of getting to work on it, is that they grew up with it. Josh grew up with Superman and Superboy and knowing it and wanting to play the role. And Curran grew up with Jason Todd, knowing what it was and being excited about it. So for these people, almost to a one, it was a dream come true to be offered to play a role that had been an important part of their childhoods, really. So they came in with just total respect and just eager to make the characters come alive in a new way. And they did. So it was really fun. That was a fun show to work on.
Well, the one thing that me and David have always talked about when it comes to a lot of these shows that do come out, and we're just like, we get excited about it. And over the years, we've had to kind of lower our expectations because we're just like, all right, well, let's just see what they're going to do with this show now. And we'll have to just kind of, we get it. They're changing this. But the one thing that we always say is that if the writing is there, then you can do almost anything with it, and we're probably going to love it because the writing is so good.
And as long as the characters are just written in their direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys did that with Titans. So you had the great cast, but you had the great writing, and it came together, and it was just like, all right, well, I mean, they're not going in the direction we know of the comics, but dude, this is actually really good.
But I think it was better that you guys didn't follow the comics, because you look at Justice League, you look at Batman versus Superman, and they convoluted it by trying to put too many comic storylines in one place. And what you guys did, you guys approached it like brand new comic book artists. Like, oh, this is my run. I can do what I want. I'm writing. He's doing the inks. He's doing the pencils. And you guys just went with a whole new story and gave us something so fresh that it was just great. Like, I enjoyed it. I and not pandering to you at all, I just really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, and then everything I saw in the 3rd season, I enjoyed it as well. I just was really sad that Alan was killed off. So I was like, I can't finish this now because he won't be in the next episode.
Well, just so you know, he is still alive in real life. So
I do know that.
All right, good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you know. And also, David, you can pander to me anytime you want. I actually encourage.
All right,
as much as possible. It was a real gift to us as writers to be able to approach the stories in a whole new way, and sort of each season was a new bad guy, and also kind of a new, almost like a new locale. We were in San Francisco, and then we were in Gotham City, and then we were in Metropolis. So we sort of got to do a lot of different things. The weird thing, though, about doing a show like that is the people who speak up on social media are the super fans. And they are the most, they feel the most ownership over the material. So they also feel, you're most likely to offend them.
Yeah.
And they will get pissed off. And so most of what we heard was either a 10 or a 0 or a -1,000. Like, there was nothing in between. And we kept thinking, oh my God, we're losing them. And then HBO would tell us quietly, you guys are one of the biggest shows on the network. like sort of low key, you're getting tons of viewers. And we're like, what's going on? So finally we came to understand that the vast majority of our audience were not super fans, or even people that were familiar with the titles. They just sort of knew, oh, this is sort of like about Robin and what he does after Batman. And they were just watching it like, oh, it's a superhero show. And that was literally 99% of our audience. And we never heard from them. But they showed up, watched the show, enjoyed the show, went on with their lives. The 1% we heard from were the people who were like, why aren't you doing this? Why are you doing that? How dare you? And then there was like all this, like probably the biggest battle was between the people who wanted to see Beast Boy and Raven be in a relationship and the people who really, really did not, and just felt like, no, they're siblings. They're like brother and sister. We don't want to see that. And we never, I don't think we ever seriously thought, yeah, let's start brewing a romance here. We're like, we got our hands full with Nightwing and Starfire. So they're good. They're happy. They're cool. They're fun. We know they care about each other as characters. We know they have a very strong bond. We don't need to make it romantic in this incarnation. So,
yeah. Well, and unfortunately, yeah, you do get those super fans that are like, "Oh my god, I want this," and I'm one of them at times, but not all the time. With this show, I wasn't, because, like I said, it was written really well. So I'm, like David said, we're looking at a whole new universe, because they already have a multiverse, so you can be anywhere in that verse and your characters fit in wherever. But it was a great show. And then the next great show that I thought, because I know we're talking about Titans, but Supernatural. Like, that was an amazing show. I loved it, and I still love it. Like I said, I watch it quite a bit. And how many episodes did you do of Supernatural?
I wrote 2 episodes of Supernatural in the first season. And I got to tell you, my one big regret with Supernatural was, in retrospect, because we're literally going back 20 years. I was on that show in 2005. My big regret with Supernatural was I was on the show too early, and was not, and did not have the privilege of staying on a long time. I came on at the very beginning when I didn't even know what the show was. Eric knew what the show was, but for the rest of us, to varying degrees, it took a little longer to figure out. For me, it took a long time to figure out. And I will admit to you now, I never quite figured it out. So unfortunately, I didn't get to stay on the show. I feel like, and part of that had to do with my most recent history in television, which was, I'd been on a couple other shows, but mostly I had done miracles. Mm-hmm. And I was still working from a point of view of, if I go on a show, what you're asking me to do is write the Richard Hatem version of the show, which is not what you're being asked to do. And it took me a while to learn this. What you're being asked to do is to write the showrunner's version of the show. But I sort of felt like, well, but you're hiring me to do my thing. So my episodes are going to be different, and they're going to come from a different emotional place, and they're going to be unique, and people will be able to tell, oh, that's a Richard Hatem episode. And early on, I didn't really have a lot of episodes to follow. Like, when you're coming on a show 6, 7, 8 seasons in, you know what that show is. Mm-hmm. And you kind of know what you're getting into. I did not have the benefit of that. And I also didn't have the benefit of having been on a lot of shows where I was serving an outside vision successfully. So anyway, I had a great time while I was there. The few minutes I got to spend with the cast, those guys were awesome. Jared and Jensen, amazing. I almost wish in retrospect I'd come in year 5 or 10 when I would be like, oh, I know what this show is. Everyone knows what this show is. And I would have been more experienced, and I could have hung around for a while.
So which episodes did you write? Which were your
Phantom Traveler and Asylum.
Okay. And those are actually...
I was going to say Phantom Traveler is the one where Dean we discover he's afraid of flying. Mm-hmm. And that was a great hook. And that made that episode really fun to write. So yeah.
It was funny. It was actually really fun to see him getting scared.
Yeah.
And then
and he played it so well. I mean, and that's what they want to do. It's like, wait a second. So you fight demons, but you're afraid of, writing and coach. What is this? But he loved, I mean, he, as any good actor will, they're like, oh, this is a great reveal for my character. I can really sink my teeth into this. So he enjoyed it, and that was nice. That was a gift.
And then the other one was Asylum, and that's where they were helping out some kids that got stuck in the asylum, right?
Yeah, it was weird. And that had various versions. I mean, that idea went through several distinct approaches. But the genesis of it was, there are so many creepy, abandoned, insane asylums in the Northeast and Midwest, all of them haunted. All of them are being vandalized by teenagers trying to freak each other out. And it was just like, and it's an insane asylum. I mean, it's an irresistible premise. So that was the genesis of that.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed that. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of those shows, but now I know which were your episodes, and I could be all like, yeah, I know the guy that wrote that. Yep.
Well, if you go back and look at Phantom Traveler, here's a really weird thing. So there was and this now is 10 years ago, but there was a gym I used to work out at. And in the mornings I'd go in and I'd be on the stair stepper or whatever. And they had all the TVs set up, but the volume is down and they've got the closed captions. And there's one station they had on always played Supernatural at the time I came in, which was like at 6 a.m. or something. And so I'd be on the stair stepper staring at Supernatural going, what the hell is this? And then this one day I'm looking at it and I glance up and I see in the closed captions, I see my old street address come up. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I remembered, oh, I put that as an address. And someone is now saying that address and they're printing it out. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I used my actual address in the episode. I don't live there anymore, but I'm like, boy, that was pretty ballsy. I'm like, I can't think of it. It's like, oh, they live at, and I just I'm like, I can't think of something. I'll just put in my address. They'll probably change it later. They never did.
That's pretty funny.
That episode is really good though. Like the premise of that episode, I know you guys talked about Jensen like wanting to be the scary guy, like being afraid of something, but the entire idea of that episode, like the ghost taking over and the planes going down all at the same time, like it hooked me immediately. I was like, oh, that's creepy, dude. What if I'm on a plane and I have to keep looking at my watch? Like, because I have a huge imagination, so I don't watch a lot of scary things. And not that Supernatural is scary, but I did stay away from it for a long time because I was like, oh, I don't like scary crap. My imagination just goes out the door.
Well, and the funny thing is, I had been a pretty good flyer for the majority of my life, but I had a really bad flight in 2003, I think. And then after that, suddenly for the first time in my life, I was terrified of flying. And it sort of got worse with each flight after that, to the point where I was avoiding traveling. And then I had to go, I had to get a prescription so I could take Xanax and sort of zonk out when I fly. And it was really bad. But when I wrote that episode, it was during that time where I hated flying. And so it was very easy to approach that material, let me tell you.
Oh, but so going from Supernatural, because you actually are big into the supernatural.
Yeah.
You are like if people don't know, if you guys are watching us or if you guys see this later, Richard has an awesome, and I'm saying awesome because it is awesome podcast called Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf.
Yes, very good. That's a mouthful.
It is.
You got it.
I had to slow it down because the ghost is trying to kick it. And when I mean ghost, I mean ghost. But it's kicking in, so I always have to slow myself down because the energy drink wants to take off. So the first episode that I listened to, I was hooked. I was
great.
Yeah. Loved the premise of it. The books that you talk about, most of them I didn't know about, except for Mothman Prophecy, which I had to go back and actually so David always makes fun of me, but I read audiobooks. So.
You don't read audiobooks, you hear audiobooks. You listen to audiobooks.
Wow. No, it's okay.
Exactly.
Eugene, it's okay. David, I know what you're talking about.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying
it's okay.
You can't say I read audiobooks. You have to say I
read audiobooks.
You listen to audiobooks.
You consume.
Requires you to look at words on a page, you weirdo.
It's consumption.
There we go.
Consuming them.
Thank you, Richard. I consume audiobooks because I got a long drive to come up to work. So that's when I get my time. So I did actually, as I'm driving up, I finally got to listen to the Mothman Prophecy. No idea the direction that book was going to go. You know,
right?
I mean,
know.
Except for when you were talking about it on the podcast, and I was all like, "Huh? So it's aliens." All right.
It's all kinds of weird things. Well, that's the cool thing. And first of all, thank you very much for the kind words about the podcast. I'm enjoying doing it so much, and it's far and away the best thing I've ever done. If anyone, is into the supernatural, I'd say definitely give it a try. Because there are so many books about this stuff, but a lot of them are fairly unknown. I cover some big titles. In season 1, I covered the Amityville Horror. Mm-hmm. And coming up in season 3, I'm going to be talking about Communion by Whitley Strieber. But mostly I try to get books that even people who are really into books about the supernatural, books they've never heard of. And these are, quote unquote nonfiction books. These are written as, it's not Stephen King, in other words. It's, these are people writing about their experiences with the supernatural. And I try to find the weird ones. And the fact is, I've spent my whole life reading about this stuff, so I don't have to look that hard. They're all right there on my bookshelf. So, but one of the things I realize is that for most people, when you read a book, it's sort of inextricable from the time in your life that you're reading it, or the things that it makes you think about, the connections it draws out. So it's never just about the book. It's always about the book plus what was happening in my life, or what it connected to, or what it made me think of, or what the, what the connection is. So it's always personal. There's always some kind of personal story, and then the story of the book, and somehow it all connects up.
And I think that's the magical part about your podcast is you're not just telling them about the book and giving them like a book review and, oh, it was good. It was like, well, at this time in my life, I was doing this and it made me feel this way. It made me, and you talk about it and then they're like, wow, I could see how this book affected you. And maybe what was going on in your life also made you read the book. And it have that tug and pull on what you were talking about or what you were going through at the time. So that's really cool. Cause like when I read the premise on your show, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then when I went back and kind of like skimmed through a podcast, because I was at a track meet all day, I didn't have a chance to like sit down and watch them all the way through. I was like, that's freaking awesome. Like the fact that you're giving us that little insight into your life and like more about you in general, as well as the book. And then you can be like, you know what, maybe I should read that book right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's fun is also the people who, listeners reach out and kind of tell me their stories. It's like, oh my God, I remember when I read that book, and I was up at, my family's cabin, in Wisconsin, that summer when I was 15, and that was the summer that this thing happened. And they start telling me their stories. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. Because I do think, especially with things like the supernatural and, you're not just reading this stuff, you're more than probably any other kind of material. There's a part of your mind and your soul that's really measuring it and really going, now, what are you saying? what happened and how would I feel if that happened? And do I believe that happened? And obviously you become very involved in it, and you bring a lot of yourself to these experiences. I don't think there's anyone who's ever had a supernatural experience that doesn't, where the telling of it isn't intensely personal.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the most interesting stories you'll ever hear, because it's, on the one hand, it's usually people revealing something that they don't always reveal to everybody.
Right.
And these are also stories that often don't make the person's often not a hero or the hero, and they're unresolved. It's like, yeah, here's what happened. There's no end to the story because I never figured it out.
And I don't know what happened to this day. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
What David, when he said that, you giving your, some of the kind of overview of the book and where you were at in your life, for me, I connected more with your life because we grew up like next door neighbors practically. I lived in Boyle Heights during the 80s and into some of the 90s. And then you were over in Alhambra,
Yeah.
the Alhambra area. And when you talk about like the hat, the one off of Garfield, that's the one you went to, right?
Yep.
My dad took me to that one all the time. Atlantic Square was where I went. Yeah. I went to go get my hair cut all the time from a barber there.
Dude, I know that barber. Wait a second, Eugene. How old are you? Okay, I'm 58. You're younger? How old are you?
I'm 47.
We went to the same one. I know for a fact we went to that same barber who was there for years. Is not there anymore, but I know exactly the barbershop you're talking about.
Tucked away in Atlantic Square down
Yes.
that little arc. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God! And there was the older white guy who was sort of bald.
Yep. He was there forever. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh. Hey, do you remember? Okay, hold on. I got to geek out on Atlantic Square. Do you remember the Yilo Deli?
Yes. Yes. I love that place. My dad took me there all the time. Like, oh my God, the Chinese chicken salad was the greatest.
Oh my God. That place was my dream. I went to that place the number of times I ate at Yilo Deli. Oh boy, you're bringing back memories, dude. And that Shakey's across the street.
Right across the street. It's still there.
Whole life.
Yep. So
I had no idea. This is crazy.
That's why like when I listened to your podcast, I was like reminiscing so much about living in that area. And then not only that, but like a lot of your experiences as a teen, I kind of was like that as a kid and going into my teens. So I connected a lot, but I was just like, God, I love listening. I could honestly listen to you read your stuff all day long.
Oh,
like
that's so great.
Through your podcast. But when you mentioned you went to Alhambra High, I was like, oh my God, I used to skate there because it was the greatest place to go skate at. There was so many places to go.
Yes, no, you're totally correct. Well, what high school did you go to?
Unfortunately, I did move out of East LA, but I went to Gladstone High School, which is in Azusa.
Oh yeah. So you went east. Okay, yeah.
But I did
because Gladstone is the big street or one of them.
Yeah, it's one of the big streets right off of Azusa Avenue.
My grandparents were in Glendora.
Oh my God, I know Glendora. I was just in Glendora not too long ago. I lived in Glendora for a short time too.
I always used to go to Glendora. That's where they lived. They lived in a. I want to be very clear. They lived in a trailer park, but a very nice trailer park.
Which one? The one that's.
It's on Barranca.
Yes, I know where you're. Yes, I know the place.
I mean, they got like a little arm that comes up and down, so it's a nice one. It's enclosed. Yeah. We used to hang out there, me and my brother and my cousins, Janny and Rob. I mean, that was our hangout. And then we would go to the Christmas shows at Citrus College. That was like a big thing. But yeah, Yeah, here's the funny thing. I grew up, it was all East Side, East LA, Alhambra, Monterey. I was in Monterey Park. That's where my house was.
Uh-huh.
And my grandparents were east in Glendora, and my cousins lived in San Gabriel. And so, but when I was growing up and I was, dreaming of being, a stand-up comic or an actor or TV writer, it was strange because it's like, well, all of that is just a few miles that way,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd go to Hollywood and I'd go to the bookstores and I'm like, I know it's around here somewhere, but I just don't know quite how to get into it. And all of as you'll hear in the podcast, obviously my teenage years were spent making some pretty overt efforts to get into that world and figure out, because again, it's just a few miles. It's not, some people come from the Midwest. I only had to go about 10 miles west, but it was a big 10 miles and it took 10 years.
The story that you tell of getting into
Stephen Cannell.
Stephen Cannon, yeah.
Stephen Cannell's office, yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, that's ballsy. And that was awesome that you just did it. And you're like, let's see what happens. And oh my God, that was a great story.
Dude, it is the ignorance of youth. And I knew it at the time. Like, even at the time, I'm like, this is crazy and this is stupid, but I'm 16, so I will be forgiven somehow, And so me and my friend Larry, we did it. That's, you saw the pictures, you saw the letter. Anyway, I know it's weird if you're listening, you don't know what we're talking about, but listen to the podcast. There's not that many episodes so far. You can catch up pretty quick. But
that's the thing is, you guys got to listen to the podcast because it's just amazing. And if you do live in like East LA area, you guys are going to love it even more because you're like, oh my God, I went there too. Okay.
So there's one coming up in season 3 that I just recorded that you're going to love because it is, I don't want to give too much. Well, what the hell? It's about the book, The Premonitions Bureau, which is a fairly new book, but it's also about when your neighborhood and my neighborhood were in the news internationally. It was the summer of 1985.
Or 85. It was at East LA College. I remember going to the village over there.
Oh, you're thinking of the Olympics.
Are you? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not talking about the Olympics. But I'm talking about a little person we knew who was murdering people.
Yes.
All throughout. A little guy named Richard Ramirez.
He was caught 4 blocks from my grandparents' house.
Okay, which makes it about 4 miles from my house. Okay, so that you will listen to this episode in season 3. It's coming up.
I can't wait.
We get into it.
My God. Richard, you and me are just like, I'm geeking out, and this is awesome.
I know it really is weird because not many people grow up I know the people who grew up like I went to high school with, but I don't meet a lot of people in the wild who are like, oh yeah, I'm from East LA, I'm from Boyle Heights, I'm from Montebello or something. It's not a thing.
Yeah. Well, my mom's house, and I know we've totally cut out David. It's just like, yeah.
You guys are good, man. This is what we're here for.
That's true. I mean, this is what we're here for. So our listeners get to know our guests, not just hear about their works and stuff. We love that they get to know you and they get invested in our guests. And then that's what makes them want to go back and
But where else can someone in the industry, geek out about themselves and their neighborhood? You know what I mean? Like, this is a place I'm geeking out because we're in the same. So we're right in line. We're right in line with what we do here.
So my mom's house, actually, if you're driving onto the 10 freeway, you've got Cal State LA on one side.
Yeah.
Right across the freeway on the other side, across from them, or Cal State, is that hill, right where the 710 and the 10 meet up and everything.
Is she in City Terrace or?
Yep. She's
City Terrace,
right on top of the hill on City Terrace.
Yep.
You can literally see their house as you drive by.
Oh my God, you have no idea the thousands of times I have driven on and off from the 710 to the 10, just transitioning on and off. I used to I lived for a while. I lived kind of right sort of where the 710 starts in Alhambra in this weird, I don't know. It's near Cal State, LA. It was a great place to grow up. I really, looking back on it, I really value it, especially at that time, because it was very much a suburb. And, I went to a public school. The public school I went to, there were Asian kids, there were Hispanic kids, there were white kids, and the white kids were Italian and Polish and Lebanese like me. It was truly sort of a little bit of everything. And we all liked the same things, and we're excited about the same movies and songs. And when I think about it, it really was a great place to grow up. And again, you've heard the podcast. I'm very romantic about my grade school, my high school. All that stuff meant a lot to me, because that's where I met all the people that I love in my life. And that's where I dreamed all my dreams. I mean, the hours I spent sitting in class at Alhambra High School, paying some attention to class, but mostly just thinking about, the A-Team script that I was writing or whatever. And just thinking, God, can it ever happen? And then over time it did happen. And, my family hates getting in the car with me if I'm driving down toward, my old house, because they're like, oh no, we're going to take the tour. I forced them to go. We got to drive by Brightwood. We got to drive by the Hat, and then we got to drive by Atlantic Square, and we just got to hit all the places. And hey, there's Lisa's house. Oh, there's Alan's house. There's Tim's house. There's Gary's house. There's Corey's house. Just everyone gets name checked, and they're like, "Yes, we know, darling. You've taken us on the tour before. Can we just go home?"
Oh, so do you remember there was an arcade off of Atlantic as you go up the hill, and you remember there was also a movie theater. It was Eastern and Atlantic in that, I think, that was the area. There was a small arcade that looked like it was like a cave when you went into. Do you remember that place?
Wait, no, it was on Atlantic, or was it? Because there was Andy's Billiards on Atlantic, just sort of south of Garvey.
I remember that place, and I've been in there. It was sketchy as hell when I went.
Oh, why? That's what made it great. When you're 14, it's like, the sketchy guys are playing pool, and I'm over here with Ms. Pac-Man.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, his brother would take us, and we were about 12, 13 years old, and we thought we were the coolest people because we're hanging out at Andy's, and we're like, hell yeah. We're
you were.
Yeah. And then we didn't realize how dangerous it was actually in there, but whatever.
So if you went up from that toward Garvey, there was the theaters that they built in like 1978, 79, like a little, like the Edwards Theaters or something, like there.
It was tucked in. That's what it was, Atlantic and Garvey. It was tucked away in there. There was an arcade that was right there too.
God, how did I miss that? I mean, if it wasn't Andy's Billiards, I don't know. But again, are you talking 80s or 90s?
80s.
80s?
Yeah, the 80s.
Huh. I don't know. You are younger than me, so I don't know. It might have snuck in and snuck out before I figured it out. There was one on about like the corner of like Allen and Colorado up in Pasadena that's what you describe.
I love that place.
But again, going back to 1982 or something. And it was great. It's hard to understand now that video games were a thing you had to go to.
Yes.
It's like, hey, let's go to Pronto's Donuts. We can get some donuts, and we can also play Dig Dug.
Yep.
And that was an afternoon. I mean, that was hours. You were good. It was air conditioned. It was July. You were good.
I was trying to explain to my kids the other day, like, You guys don't know what it's like to get off of school, have to walk down the street, around the corner, get to the place wherever the arcade that you wanted to play was at, and then put a quarter on the glass just to wait for your turn and hope someone didn't like throw your quarter off to the side because they wanted to keep playing.
Right. Well, yeah, because you'd see these guys, like especially with Pac-Man or something. You go and you could sort of tell, oh, this guy's really good, and they're not leaving. Like they're not going to be a good sport about this. You're never going to get near this game. And so a friend of mine, one of my best friends in high school, met a guy in an arcade, and the next day my friend comes to me and says, I met a guy last night. He taught me the pattern. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's a pattern. Pac-Man has a pattern. And if you just do the pattern every single time, you'll get through so many screens. You'll get through 25 screens. I saw the guy do it. He taught me the pattern. I'll teach you the pattern. My friend teaches me the pattern. And we got to the point where it's like, forget cherries, forget the peaches and apples. We're getting keys and bells and all these weird symbols. We were getting through 30 screens. Now it gets more difficult and it gets faster, but that was literally like discovering the Lost Ark.
Right.
It was, yeah. I mean, back in the day for us it was that experience though. It was, and you didn't care if you went to the arcade and blew through $1 quarters and didn't get too far, but it's like I was at the arcade. I was hanging out at the arcade. This is what I did. Where now it's like, yeah, I'm on my Switch in my bed. I'm good.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say this though. Okay, so I've got 3 kids. Okay, they're all super old. My oldest is 29. It's like 29, 27, and 17. Okay, so kind of a jump down.
Yeah.
The guys in their late 20s, there was not a lot of online gaming for them. There was some, but and they never talked on the phone. They did some texting, but they weren't super, like, they weren't social in that way. My 17-year-old, it's really interesting. Things have sort of circled back in a weird way. He will play video games at home, and now he's doing it with the headphones, and he's just talking to his friends. So it is what we did. It's just that everyone's in a different location, but it's the friends he just spent the day in school with, and now he's talking to them. I hear him laughing and talking shit with his friends, and I know exactly. I'm like, who you on with? And he's like, oh, Murray and Kyle, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. All right. And they're having a great time. And here's the weird thing about it. Of all 3 of my kids, he's the one who talks on the phone like it's a phone. My other kids never did that. But, you and I, we grew up talking on the phone for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
My 17-year-old does the same thing, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I finally realized, it's because when he's playing video games, he's talking to his friends over the headphones and over the microphone. So it's like he's on the phone, and it's a very easy transition to just now go talk on the phone, FaceTime or normal phone call, either one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's circled back around. They're doing it. They're back on the phone, and it's beautiful.
It's crazy that you bring that up, because I never really thought about that, because I do get on the phone with some people and they're like, it's just easier if you just text. It's like, yeah, right. But it's not the same. I want to hear the intonations in your voice. So when I'm telling you something, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to just be all like, so yeah, blah, 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 text. And then it's like, well, what did you mean by that? I mean,
it's a
type
very,
in all caps. I'm like,
well,
I don't know
okay. Okay. Look at it this way. And I think about this all the time, and my kids are living it, when the 3 of us were, teenagers or in our 20s, if we wanted to go out and meet girls, okay, we had to go out.
Yeah.
We had to own clothing. We had to have access to transportation.
Yeah.
We had to have money, and we had to go to a place that existed in the real world without any entree, a bar, a restaurant, a place. And then we had to go up and talk to someone IRL. And I'm like, that's the big difference in a big way. I think that now, if you're in your 20s, you move to a new city, you very quickly, one of the main things you do is you go on the dating app and you just see who's around and you start talking to them. And maybe it feels safer, but boy, it's very different. Like, it's now like ordering DoorDash. If you want to get something going, that's fucking crazy. You know, I mean, it's like, no, we had to go put shoes on.
But what's great was when like I had to use that DoorDash. It was kind of fun.
So you're saying they have DoorDash for people?
That's funny. That's what it is now.
It's funny because like when we were, 80s, 90s, you didn't hear about, oh, I got on this app and found this girl. It was, oh, what? He's got a mail order bride? What is that? Who did that? You know what I mean? That was the joke. It was like, oh, he couldn't find no one to love him unless he ordered them from Russia. Like,
oh, Jesus. I did that. Yeah, that does seem weird. You know, okay, so when I went through my divorce and I moved out, I was 35 or something. It was in 2002, you know. Actually, no, earlier. It was like 2001. And I was talking to, you know, other people my age, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm going to start dating now. I guess I put an ad in the LA Times or something in the personal ads. And they're like, dude, there's a little thing you want to check called Friend Finder or Adult Friend Finder.
Oh.
I think you'll have more. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah,
so then I went on my computer. I'm like, the hell?
Yeah, when I got divorced, I was 36. So,
oh my God, we've had the same life.
I know that's why I also said that as I'm listening to your podcast, I'm like, holy crap, this guy, he lived my life before I'm living it. So I should just keep listening and see what's going to happen. And
that's right. I know your future.
Start tucking away those nuggets of info.
Yeah, seriously. But
oh, that's a good one.
The Plenty of Fish was the thing that was the huge app, and that was like, holy crap! You can just go on there and you're just like, oh, okay, nice, all right, cool.
Wait, the app was called Plenty of Fish?
Yes.
Wow.
Of fish. Yep.
Dang.
Yeah,
no, I'm super lucky. I was single for like 4 days. And then I started dating the woman I married, Susan. And I think, like, you know, every once in a while, you know, it's been, you know, we've been together for years and years. And she's like, you know, oh, you know, are you upset that you didn't go crazy and, you know, just spend, you know, years, you know, being single? And I'm like, I think I wish I did more, but I think maybe I'm glad I didn't. I think I would have burned out real fast. And I'm, you know, I'm kind of I'm not going to say I'm a scared guy, but I'm kind of I actually do want to know the person. It's really funny. A writer that I know, this woman, also my age, you know, in her 50s. And she's like, thank God, you know, because we're having this conversation. She's like, thank God I'm not single. Thank God you're not single. We couldn't handle it. She's like, you know, there's this new phrase. She's like, I forget what it is, but it's people who they'll only have sex with people they like. I'm like, wait, you mean like normal human beings? She's like, no, this is like considered a fetish.
What?
I'm like, okay, that's insane, but I'm one of them. That's who I am.
Wow. So you guys have heard it here. Richard's fetish is that he only has sex with the person he likes.
I have to like them first. So get in line.
Talk about circling back. You know what I mean? Like, you got away from it. You're getting online. You're just meeting people, having sex with them, and now it's like, I prefer to like them before I have sex with them.
I call me kinky.
Oh man, that's funny. That is crazy.
I've been sitting on a question here for a minute, and I before we get back into something, we've heard about where you're from, what you did, all the places you've been to, how you developed your podcast. What kicked off the supernatural like vibe for you? What made you want to just go deep and love that whole like genre of stuff?
Well, I talk about it a little in the very first episode. It's funny, I did the first episode. This is like the anniversary of the show, the first anniversary.
Oh wow!
So the first episode was a year ago yesterday.
Oh,
nice.
Awesome.
So yesterday we reran the first episode just for a little, anniversary celebration. But in that episode, I'm talking about when I was pretty young, like 8 years old, and it's a little bit hard because I don't know what it was that set me off. There were a couple of things. One of them was Walt Disney had an LP, like a record, based on the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman.
I had that. That was awesome.
And it was a big, kids my age and on, Sunday nights, The Wonderful World of Disney, they had the animated, Ichabod Crane being chased by the Headless Horseman. And that was when I was 5. And that really, and I don't know why, but that really like struck a chord. And then that's all I could think about.
Wow.
And so that was a big deal. And then in the podcast, I talk about how a few years later, for my birthday, my aunt gave me a book that was like my first grown-up ghost book, like that really took it seriously. And it's like, okay, these stories are true. And here are pictures, and these are actual stories. And I was like, whoa, so this is real, like not kid stuff, not Casper. This is real ghosts. And for some reason that was important to me. I wanted to know that they were real and that grown-ups also thought they were real. So that was another big moment. And then pretty soon after that, there was this show, and I don't even know if you guys know what this show is, but it was called Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yes.
Oh, so Eugene, you know it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was Darren McGavin playing a reporter who was constantly sort of running across stories, a series of murders in Chicago that turned out to be connected to something supernatural. And that also, again, I was 8 years old, and that felt like, wow, this feels very real. Like these are real people, contemporary grown-ups, except this guy is fighting werewolves and a thing. And he was scared. Like there was no like mythology to it. It was just like, I'm just a reporter, but I'm going to go down into that place and see if I can get a picture of the thing and prove my theory of what this is. And then the thing would attack him and he would have to survive or kill it or something. It was very real. And I loved it. Like, again, it was like, this was made for me. And I think it's because it was resonating with fear that I had inside me, that I'd had my whole life. And I think it came from my family dynamic. I think there was a lot of anxiety that I felt about what was going on with my parents, even though I didn't literally know. I could feel the scary emotions in the house.
Okay.
And when I talk about that stuff, as I did in this first podcast, I was so surprised and gratified when so many people said, "Oh my God, I grew up in the same house." And I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
I ask you where it all comes from. Like for me, I have a great aunt who's like in Spanish, we call them curanderas. She's like a healer or a spiritual type of person. And when I was born, she was like, "Oh, your son's going to have the gift. I can feel it." And my mom was like, "Ew, that's weird. Like, go away." You know what I mean? And So growing up, I've always seen or heard, or like I played with the kid in the back of my dad's house that no one's ever seen before. Um, when my brother was about to be born, I remember walking up to my mom, grabbing her by the stomach, being like, "Oh, when's my brother gonna come?" And she was like, "I'm not pregnant." And then 9 months later, my brother was born. So I've always had this weird like sixth sense that kind of, which is why I don't watch scary movies, because I see these things. And then my great aunt still talks to me, and I was like, I see something in the corner of my eye all the time. I don't know what it is. And she's like, "Oh, you're just one of the lucky few that can see their spirit." I forget the word she used, but she's like, I sent someone. It's a kid. He's a young man. He's probably about 19 or 20 years old, and I think his name is Daniel. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy, because I lost my 19-year-old cousin at 19, and his name was Daniel. So he's my spirit guide, and I see him in my peripherals all the time, and I get these weird, feelings and premonitions and stuff like that. And we work at a place that's freaking haunted, and I get weirded out there all the time. But yeah, that's why I was asking you. It's weird. Like for me, I'm interested in it and I love learning about it, and I do learn a lot of stuff, but I will not watch like scary movies or like shows that are just gore factor and like stuff like that. But yeah, I really like supernatural stuff, just not the stuff that's popular.
So do you how do you feel about having that? Do you wish you didn't?
No, I've never felt horrible or bad or weird about it. It's just something that I know about, I guess. And there are times where I wish I knew more about it, where I was more interested in it, more in tune with it. And then there's times where like I get jump scared and I'm like, oh, what the hell just happened? What was that? And I'm like, I hate being like this. And then it goes away. And then I'm like, all right, well, now I want to figure out what that was.
Yeah. That sounds, I know what you're saying, because I know some people who followed that impulse and decided to, like, okay, I want to know more, and
Mhm.
I want to develop my psychic abilities, basically.
Right.
And psychics will often say that, well, this is a facility we all have, some to a greater or lesser degree, but if you try, you can develop it more. But the people I know who do that, there is a lot of ambivalence. It's sort of like, I'm interested, but I'm kind of freaked out. I don't get, like, rarely do people feel in control of it.
Yeah, I would
And
say my great aunt is really like in tune with her gift and what she has to do. She called me one time. I was driving in the middle of San Diego. I was working for the border mission down when the National Guard plus them up back in like 2010, 2012. Working night shift, and I'm driving in the most like boondock areas of like East County, San Diego. And I'm by myself and I'm driving between points. They're about 10 miles apart. And I'm like, dude, it's creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. And I'm freaking out. I've got anxiety and I don't like, there's no lights on the roads. And I'm just like, dude, this is weird, man. Like, and I got this weird feeling. And I remember she called me and she was like, hey, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm good. Who's this? And she's like, oh, it's your aunt. I'm calling to see how you are. I could feel your energy from here. And I was like, wait, what? How do you know? I'm freaking out over here. And she was like, yeah, you need to just calm down. Everything's okay. You're fine. And after that, I was 100% good for the rest of the night. Like I didn't have any problems with it.
that's
So,
amazing.
but she's the only person I've ever met that has like this grip on it. And everyone else that I mentioned to is like me. They're like, well, it's kind of weird. It freaks me out, but I'm not scared of it. I'm not weary of it.
Now,
So
did she have someone in her life, like an even older relative, who sort of recognized her thing and said, okay, here's how you deal with it?
I've never asked, to tell you the truth. I've
I'm
just never
curious.
asked.
Well, because, like, okay, so full disclosure, I'm not like that at all.
Right.
And I think I'm kind of glad. Like, I don't get, I've never had a supernatural experience that I know of. So I just sort of, And I used to really want one, and now I'm glad I haven't had one. But I was going to say, people like you, David, okay, who who have family members, and then it'll skip a generation. It like won't be everybody, but her recognition of you is, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, my mom's on my YouTube account apparently, and she says yes. My great grandmother was there.
Oh, is that who that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
thought maybe.
like, who's that? What does he answer yes to?
I thought you were doing it. But you were sort of like DL, like sort of like, oh, you don't say it. But yeah, the answer is yes, and it's my great grandma. And I'm like, oh,
no, not my great grandma, her great grandmother.
Oh, so your mom's great grandmother?
No, my great aunt's great grandmother.
Oh, I see. Okay. By the way, isn't it nice to have people in your family who sort of know the family tree?
Yes.
I'm telling you, get them to write it down now, or you write it down, or interview them with your iPhone, because there will come a time, and I am living it, when almost everyone is gone and the ones who are still alive aren't talking. And then you're going to go, did you ever wonder what was going on with our family or our grandparents or something? And it's like, yep, but we'll never know.
Yep.
That's where I'm at. All I know is one of my family members was part of Pancho Villa's gang. And apparently one of my soldiers who was in my squad was chased off his land by Pancho Villa's gang. So I was all like, well, I guess that's why I'm in charge of you. But so I'm the opposite of David as far as like, I do believe in like all this crazy stuff, the ghosts and everything, only because I haven't had any good experiences with it. More like the scarier side of things that went on in my family in the house that I lived in East LA. We're talking about the man in black.
What happened? What happened?
I've seen that. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen it too, where we've seen him walk through our house back in East LA. He's appeared in like where he's scared like my own mom, thinking that she thought it was her brother who was like in the restroom, but he was a lot taller than what she was expecting. And she was talking to him, but he just turned and kind of then disappeared. And we saw a lot of that throughout the house there. And then in my dad's house, where he lived over off of Ganal and Alma, which is a little deeper in East LA. And my uncle had passed away in that house. And after he passed away, all kinds of crazy stuff was happening. People were yelling in our window when there was nobody out there, like on a second story, like literally yelling. Whoa. I had moved back to that house, and it's one of those like duplex type houses that were on top of each other because that area is all hilly. So I moved back into the house upstairs, and I was renting it. And my first night there, I guess my dad had said, hey, I threw some sheets on your bed for you so when you get home so you can set up, because I had just moved in. I was like, all right, cool. I get home, no sheets. I was like, where? So I went downstairs and I was like, hey, you forgot the sheets. Where are the sheets? And he's all like, they're on your bed. I said, nah, there's nothing there. We both walked up there and the sheets weren't folded like he had said he'd left them. They were thrown across the bed like, here you go. Get out of here. I don't want you here. And he was all like, see, there they are. And I was like, nah, you said folded. These are not folded. They're thrown. And he's all like, don't worry about it. He left. And I remember this night vividly because it scared the crap out of me. Getting ready to go to bed. And I hear in the room next door what sounds like feet sliding in a circle. And it was getting louder and louder and further and getting closer to the door. And then it stops, and it was about to cross the threshold, and it stopped. It just stopped. Scared the crap out of me. But I stayed in that house, never heard it again. It messed with me once.
Should have put salt on the door.
I know.
Good.
Oh, you're right. There you go. Yeah, supernatural rules.
Yeah.
Gotta put a salt ring.
Got to sleep with the shotgun with salt rock in it so it doesn't come across.
Yep.
But these are
so how do your but did the rest of your family, because a lot of times I feel like everyone will be like, yes, we're all experiencing something except for one person, usually the dad.
No.
It's almost always the dad who's like, it's nothing.
My dad even believed in it because he had experiences where he saw things. Everybody in the family has seen something, both on my dad's side and my mom's side. And most of the stuff that they see is not something that's nice. Like, we're not seeing the good spirits of, hey, we're Uncle Joe and we're just coming to say hi. Nah, it's usually the man in black that is always described in a lot of stories. So that's the kind of stuff that I've dealt with. I haven't seen, but I've heard and I felt. Yeah. So for David, it's a good thing. For me, it's like, no,
it's not always a good thing, man. I mean, where we work.
Oh yeah.
We've heard, felt, seen all kinds of craziness, right?
Yeah.
I stayed one time in an old barracks that I rented because I was down there on orders for something outside of work. Put me in this weird building, and I never stayed in there. They're like, "Oh, we gave you a big building. We gave you your own room with a restroom." And I was like, "Man, this is kind of nice. I've never been given the royal treatment on base before." So I go in, and first night's cool. I'm fine. I'm weirded out just because it's a weird building. So the setup of the room was weird. I put a blanket up on the closet because there was no door, and it was just this dark void, and I didn't want to stare into that all night. So I put a blanket up over it. Then I'm laying there and I'm asleep, and day one goes by. I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is kind of nice. Day two comes by, and I go in and I'm like, I can't sleep. Like, I don't know what to do. So I turned the TV on. I left it on all night, and I crashed out. Ever since I came back from Iraq, I always, when I can't sleep, I turn the TV on. The white noise puts me to sleep. So I did that, and I was like, all right, cool. About 2 hours into the night, I can hear someone walking around my bed, like literally walking the U shape of my bed. And I'm like, whoa, what is that? Like, what? And it takes me a minute, but I wake myself up, and I'm like, get up, turn on all the lights, look in the restroom, look in the closet, look around the corner, nothing. No one's in my room. And I'm like, all right, I'm just creeping out. So I lay back down, turn TV up a little bit louder so I don't have to hear the footsteps no more. Crash. And I'm not asleep 10 minutes, and something grabs me by the leg and yanks me hard. And I was like, oh, crap. And it's like 3 a.m. It's like, well, no, it's probably about 3:50, 4 a.m. And I just remember sitting there until 7:30 when I had to be up. I was just watching TV. I was like, click, click, click. And it just ruined my whole night for me. I was like, I can't sleep. Like, I'm not.
That's horrible. And did it ever happen again in that same place?
Yeah, I mean, for the rest of the time I was there, I was weirded out the whole time, and I would hear stuff. And I mean, but like I said, I've grown accustomed to hearing the thing. So after that, I think next night I came in, and I was outside of the room, and I was just like, leave me alone. I need to sleep. I stayed up 3.5 extra hours because you yanked on my leg last night. If it's not important or the building's not on fire, please don't wake me up. And I didn't have a problem. I slept through the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I've heard that people do that, and that, I think you did the right thing. I don't know, but David, I also sort of think that you should go to a psychic medium or something, or go to your aunt or something, and just kind of find out more. I don't know. It seems like you've, I mean, Eugene only has bad stories, so I don't think Eugene should do anything. But no, David, you might. You might want to find out something.
Yeah. I said, I'm not averse to it, and I'm not weirded out by it. I know it's something that's a part of my life, and I just kind of live life. I've had scary things happen here. I remember one time here in my house that I still live in right now, I was asleep. My kids were asleep in the room. And I remember behind their door, you guys are old enough, the old Tonka trucks, the big metal ones.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have one of those. And that sucker had to have been about 2 feet long, maybe about a foot tall, big plastic wheels. I used to hide it behind their door, and they would always stack their toys on it. So I knew they weren't playing with it. One, it was heavy. They were only like 4 and 1 or 5 and 2 because they're 3 years apart. And I park it. It's got all kinds of stuff on it. The door is open, and I'm asleep in the room, and it looks like someone's looking in my window. Like I see this silhouette, and it looks like someone's looking in my window. And I pop up. My wife's asleep on my chest, and I popped up so hard, she just boom hits my lap. She's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I was like, "There's someone looking in the mirror. There's someone looking in the window. Like I swear to God, I just saw it." And I turn and look, and then I just hear down my hallway, dun, 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 big plastic wheels on 1x1 tiles, clink, 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 going up and down my hallway. And I was like, oh, I swear to God, if one of these kids is awake playing in the hallway, I'm gonna shoot them because it's 1 a.m. And why are they awake playing with that damn truck? Open the door, no one's in the hallway, lights are off, and I was like, okay. Turn the corner because our rooms are like right next door to each other, just out the door in the other one. Pull the door open and I look, Tonka truck sitting there with all the crap still stacked on top of it. And I was like,
come on.
I was like, I can't sleep. And I remember going back to my room and I sat with my wife and I was like, just go back to sleep. It's nothing. I went to the back. I also went to the backyard and made sure nobody was looking in my window, like all that stuff. And there was no one out there.
That is terrifying.
Close the door, I lock it. And then I just laid back down and I was like, doop-doo-doo, like I can't sleep. Like,
remember our first night in the new barracks, you and me, when we were all excited because we're like, oh yeah, we got this barracks now. And we were setting up, so what we call jerk shacks. Just for those of you guys out there that don't know what that is. When you're deployed, you put up sheets to cover up your little area. That's your own private area.
Usually we have bunk beds that are assigned to us. They don't put no one on top of you, but it's the only privacy you have. So you put blankets up so you kind of have like your own little area. So if people are awake, you close the code. You know what I mean? Well, everyone gets to this weird idea. They're like, oh, he's in his jerk shack. He's just going to town right now, you know? So it became a thing. That's what we call them.
So we call it our jerk shack.
I love that.
So we put up our curtains. We were all excited. We had just gone to Target. Me and him, and we're like, yeah, all right. So we're all getting ready to go to bed. And we both bought these lights that were clipped onto the bunk beds that you have to literally run your finger on to turn on and off. And he's still awake. I'm getting ready to go to bed. And all of a sudden, my light goes on. I'm like, what the hell? So I turn it off. About 2 minutes later, my light goes on again. And then it goes off. And then it goes on. And it starts blinking on and off. I'm all, dude. He's all like, what? I'm all, do you see this? He's all, what? I said, my light's turning on and off. He's all, shut up. And then he looks up and he sees the lights flashing. And I'm all like, dude, I'm not doing this. So I turn on the light.
I've got trouble in my jerk shack.
Yeah, exactly. If this thing's not doing something for me, leave me alone. So
it's throwing off the ambiance.
I know. I wanted something sexy, and this is what I get. Forget this. But, so I turn off the light, and it never came back on because I just unplugged it. I was like, forget this. This ghost doesn't want us here. Then he has an experience not too long after that. Remember where you're like, hey, stupid Guzman popped his head in.
Oh, one of my soldiers every day our supervisor left for deployment and he was like, hey, Tag, you're it. You're going to be the supervisor while I'm out. And I was like, all right, cool. So I would sleep in a little later and go in a couple hours after I used to. And the night shift guy would come in and every day he'd peek his head in and he'd be like, hey, what are you doing in here? Like, I'm still sleeping because I ain't got to go to work for another 40 minutes. Get your big ass head out of my curtains. Like, and he has these huge ears. And I was like, make sure you go sideways so you don't rip my curtains when you go out with them big old things. And it was a constant thing every day. And I hear him coming up the stairs, walking around the corner. I hear my curtains rustle. And I was so over it. I was so tired. I just kept the blanket over my head. And I was like, Guzman, go the fuck away. If your big ass head is in my curtains, when I pull this blanket off my face, I'm going to punch you in the face. I was like, I'm going to get up and punch you square in the mouth. And I got up and I looked and I was like, nobody here, no face in my curtains, like nothing. Turn my little touch light on, stand up, turn the corner, walk down to his little jerk shack, and I kick his curtains open. I'm like, I swear to God, if that was you messing with me, and I'm looking and I'm like, well, you're not in here. Okay. I go back to my room. And I'm like, that dude's still on shift for like 45 more minutes. He ain't even off yet. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm going back to sleep for the next hour and a half. And I just threw the blanket over my head and went back to sleep.
What the fuck? What is it? Where is this place? What is this place?
This is Camp Roberts. It's north of Paso Robles. It's been around since the 20s.
1940. Well, no.
Okay.
They built this place in like the 1940s for World War II. This was actually where they used to do basic training.
Yes.
To get troops prepared. So they had a full-on like hospital and everything here. But prior to that, we have the mission that is down the freeway a little bit from us, which is the San Miguel mission. And so this area has actually been used by a lot of settlers also that were coming to the west. We have several Indian and poltergeist Indian burial grounds on the backside of this place that they are still continuing to find more bones and more like artifacts from them. So this place gets a lot of activity of crazy things that we may see or things that may be done to us or just them saying hello.
Yeah, Camp Roberts, US 101 North, if you're looking for it.
Okay, well, I was looking up because the story you were telling me was reminding me of this this book that I just read called The Paranormal Ranger. Have you guys read this?
No.
It's written by Stanley Milford, and it's about he's a Navajo, and he's on Indian land. It's a true story, and his work as a police officer in that area, sort of northern New Mexico area, and the various supernatural things that within that geographical area he's been asked to investigate, because he's like, a lot of people up there have seen weird lights in the sky. They believe and have experiences with skinwalkers and poltergeists. And so, we're off, or Bigfoot, and we're asked to check it out. And in the course of that, they have seen some weird shit. And it's like, it's not just on the East Coast, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of a military, wherever you are, literally almost any military installation has something going on. It's got a lot of history, and a lot of people died, so something's happening.
Los Alamitos is another one, and that's down in literally Los Alamitos in the middle of the city, and their stories are far crazier than ours. They have a particular ghost that they call the Runner, and when they go on
that's
patrol,
not good.
Yeah, they see the Runner running, but they don't see the rest of the Runner. They just see some of the Runner as he's going along, and they say that when they see the Runner, they just literally will turn around and just drive away. They don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, no, don't deal with the Runner. That's bad.
Yeah. So it's some crazy stuff, and I had sent you a video that recently happened up here. Like I said, it was on your Instagram that this one barracks, this one barracks was like the ghosts were having a full-on rave inside the building, and it wasn't just one of us that saw it. There was multiple people that had seen it, and we recorded it. Lights were going off, and these lights are the, what do you call it? They're just the big old fluorescents, and I used to work construction, so I'm like, oh yeah, they're all tied together. There's nothing special about them, but these things were just dancing, like going off and dancing. And then we had our fire chief, who's on post, kill the power to it, because we're like, maybe it's just a sensor or something. The next night, it started back up. It was dancing. These lights were going and going.
Well, send me that thing. You know what, Eugene, do me a favor. Send it to my email, the one that we've been communicating on, because I'll see it there quicker than I'll see it on Instagram. So But I'm glad you sent it there so people could see it. But I want to check this out.
Oh, I'll definitely send that to you because you're gonna be like, what? Because I walked around and even stuck my camera in the window, and I'm like, I didn't even want to look in the window because I'm like, I don't want something to pop up and be like, what the hell? But it was crazy. It was a crazy thing, and it was just I thought of you right away because this is the type of stuff that you enjoy. So, but
you guys, you've had crazier, way crazier experiences than I ever have, and I say good for you.
It's really cool, but it's also scary as hell. But
we have had one non-believer in the entire time we worked at this place. Well, the entire time that he's worked there, because he's been there a lot longer than I have. But we had one dude who was just like, "Oh, you guys are all crazy. None of this is true. I don't know why you guys keep telling these stories." And then one night, they came in and he was wide awake and he was in his truck, just sitting in his truck. And it's like, dude, why aren't you in the office? And he was all like, something grabbed me last night. Something grabbed my shoulder and pulled on my back. He goes, I won't be working in that office no more.
I love that. I love it when the disbeliever gets transformed into a believer.
Yep.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, and he just never. I mean, he eventually got to the point where he was back in the office and fine, but he was like, dude, that was the craziest thing I'd ever done. I've never had something grab my jacket and pull on my upper blouse.
God, that's so scary. That is so scary. I would freak out. See, that's the thing. I don't look for this stuff anymore. I don't go spend the night in the haunted hotel. I'm not going to investigate a thing. I'm just like, because I know. I mean, there's too much imagination and there's just too much like, no, like I'm open to that. And it's like, no, don't mess with it.
Yep. That's the best thing is just, it happens to us because it's just around us. We're not hunting for it. When it happens, we're like, holy crap, that just happened. And we'll right away tell each other, this just happened. And that's it. And then we
But I wonder if you're not more open, like a David perhaps is genetically more, sort of receptive. And Eugene, you're also perhaps because of where you've been, because I do think that, two people can be in the same place and one person can experience stuff and the other person just, the channels are just shut down and they're just not getting it. It's almost, they're not even like denying. It's just like, I didn't see it.
Yep. Yeah. And that we have people here that are like that, but we know the truth. We've seen it. We've experienced it. But so Richard, so really quick, and I know we've had you on for, I think you now have been the longest guest we've had on. That's actually kind of cool. But it's also like I said at the beginning where we just we'll go down the rabbit holes and just have fun with the conversation because that's really what we're about. We geek out about everything. So yeah, you're not the comic book guy, but you are books and you are paranormal and you are TV shows. So it's like we can geek out on that stuff all night long. We can literally keep going down and telling you more stories, especially about the girl with the red ball who's been seen a lot here. That's a whole different thing. Yeah, little girl,
that sounds
red
scary.
Ball. Yeah. But I want to keep you on, but I also don't want, because it's getting late and I want to let you go. We would love to have you back on some other time.
Totally.
And shoot, even I'll take you to the Hat, man. We'll go have
We'll do a show live from the Hat.
That would be awesome. That honestly would be awesome. Do you remember Belly Busters?
Oh, totally, on Main Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was a great place too. My dad.
Oh, dude. Oh, come on. Are we going to start talking about Tui's pretty soon?
No, we're going to stop. We're going to stop before we go too deep into this.
Okay.
But Richard, it's honestly it's an honor to have you on because seriously, everything you've done, we've watched, we've listened to. Your stories are awesome. Again, if you guys are out there and you're listening to this, if you're watching this later, Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf, that's his podcast. I listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on Spotify. Is it on Google?
It's
Google
everywhere. And
It's
anywhere you
everywhere,
get a podcast, you can get Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf. Do you guys have like a link to it or something if on your thing, or
I'll put a link. I will put a link in our bio so people can go to it. So we'll take care of that for you.
my friends make fun of me. They're like, could you come up with a longer, more forgettable title, you know? And I'm like, I wanted it to include everything. So there you go. So, but check it out. And guys, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. I'll come back anytime you want.
Oh man, seriously, that means a lot to us. But so Richard, if you can just sit tight really quick, we're going to close out the show and we'll come right back to you. But guys, Richard this man is awesome.
But before you go, if you could tell them where else they can find you, how they can reach out to you, how they can get a hold of you, for anybody who's watching this later, that they can.
The very best way is to either reach out through the website, which is Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf, and you can just contact me through there, or you can go to our Facebook page. It's a wonderful page. It's a group, and everyone's talking about the books they've read and the ghost stories they've lived through, and the dogs and cats that they live with. It's a really fun, smart, kind group of people that you guys would fit right in. So come visit us on Facebook, and that's the best way to talk to me, again, or through the website. And if you can, check out the show.
Yeah, guys, look at the spelling, Hatem. I had mentioned you to somebody else, and they went to go look up Richard Hatem. I was all like,
"Oh, okay. With a D, yeah,
yeah." And they're like, "So he writes books about cows and milk?" I'm like, "What are you looking at? What is
this
that?"
guy sounds all right.
Yeah, I was like, "No,
check that guy's podcast."
Seriously, I was like, "All right, let's talk about milk today. So let's do this." But all right, Richard. So we're gonna just sit tight. We're gonna close out this show. But thank you so much for being on, guys. Richard Hatem, check him out. And this is. Dude.
Great show.
Awesome show. I know I say this a lot about our guests, that every guest that we have on is awesome, but the fact that he is East LA, I mean, that just plus. Berkowitz Bros, you guys were awesome. Ben, Max, awesome dudes. But he just added in, yeah.
Yeah. Being able to talk to him about so many different things other than just the entertainment stuff was freaking amazing. Like
that was great.
Geeking out about Titans was cool. Geeking out about Alan Richardson was cool. Geeking out about where you guys are from was amazing. But to have him like go down the rabbit hole of the paranormal stuff, like that was cool too, because I don't really geek out with stuff. People don't like to talk about that stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, we talk about it a lot here.
We do, but we also are in a hub of stuff that happens to us.
Sure. And that freaking curtain 2 nights ago opened on its own.
I believe you.
I was pissed.
I told you we needed to put a door up. I told you we needed to put a door up.
Oh, because then I would have heard the door. I didn't hear the curtain. I just looked across and I said, I'm going to face the other way right now. So, but anyways, dude, let's close this thing out. I was just doing what he does on his podcast.
So,
but close us out.
As always, share, like, comment, hit us up on all of our social medias, Instagram, Twitch, the Geek Saga 77 here on YouTube. Hit us up on the Gmail account, the geeksaga20@gmail.com. Project Wish Upon a Star, the Golden Apple Foundation, Stack Up, Comic Books for Kids. Go to our Instagram, look up the link in the link tree. We've got links for all of them. If you didn't catch it, I dropped the link for Richard Hatem's podcast and his website in the chat. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it later on.
It'll also be in the link tree on Instagram too. So we'll throw that.
Yeah, and Eugene will add it to our link tree on the Insta as well, so you can find it that way. But as always, join us next Wednesday. We will be back unless something pressing comes up, like kid stuff or work stuff or little girls with red balls or runners going up and down the freaking hallways at the barracks. But we will be back here 7:30 Wednesday, unless otherwise posted. Same Geek Chime, same Geek Channel. Hit us up when the saga continues.